Hello, hello, everybody. Happy Taco Tuesday. I am excited, Cindy. I see you in Florida. So happy that you're here. So I'm excited for today. Today is Taco Tuesday. It's my favorite day of the week. But also, y'all, this is so crazy. Next week is podcast movement. And I'm really excited to be going to Nashville. Oh my gosh, like it's going to be so much fun. I have not been to Nashville, let me see, since 2018. And I love Tennessee so much. I have family that used to live in Tennessee. Like they migrated from Tennessee to Texas way back in the day. And I just love it so much. So I'm excited to be going, and I'm going to be going to Podcast Movement. I'm going to be speaking at Podcast Movement. So for anybody that's going, like tell me in the comments that you're going, because we're going to have some cool meetups with people at Buzzsprout, as well as Squadcast and Spark Conference. Like there's just so many different people that I'm really excited to either meet in person for the first time or see, like the people I haven't seen in forever. So it's going to be fun. I got this camera. So what you're seeing right now is my 4K camera. I got it back in, let me see, was it March-ish? And I still can't figure out the color. I have been working on figuring out the color, and I'm like, this is not, it looks like there's a filter. Looks like there's a filter on me, and I'm not crazy about it. So I'm still working out the kinks. I like the picture. The picture is super clear, but I just wanted to tell you, for anybody that's like, oh, I don't have all my equipment figured out, or I don't know what I'm doing. I still don't know what I'm doing most of the time, but I get started, right? That's the quote around here. We all have to start somewhere. So I just recently upgraded some of my equipment, and I'm learning Adobe Premiere Pro, which is like I'm leveling up my YouTube channel. And learning that is about as frustrating as whenever I first started podcasting. I'm not going to lie. I'm Googling every single thing that I'm doing. I'm literally like, okay, I need to clip this and I need to do that. Like, how do I actually make this work? And I'm just like constantly in their tutorials and their community support. I don't know what I'm doing, and it's fine. I have no problem admitting I have no idea what I'm doing in this new video editing software, but yep, we'll figure it out. We'll get there somehow. And I'm hoping to figure out the camera situation, because it just looks weird. I'm like, that is not my natural tone at all. And I don't really know what, it's not like lighter or darker necessarily. It's kind of like funky. Hang on, there's like a setting up here. Hang on, I can, oh, okay. So I can defocus the background. Do y'all see that? There's like a quick setting. You see how you can read my sign? Be a voice, not echo. Ooh, I think it's a little blurry. So, I mean, that looks better, but the color is off. I need a better color. I need the better color. Yeah. You should never stop learning. This is 100% Kurt. Like, I always feel like I'm testing and trying things out. I'm actually working on a book project too, that is probably, it's going to be a while before it's out, before I actually talk about it publicly, because it's just a hot mess right now. It's a hot mess. I'm learning. I'm going through a program that's about writing a good book and how to market it. I've written 2 books, but I'm like, I want to do it better, right? I'm constantly learning. So you are 100% correct on that. Yeah. I'm new to your YouTube channel. I just found you on Saturday. Well, I'm so happy that you're here, Cindy from Florida. We're going to talk today a little bit about having an online business, as well as just kind of a little bit about my journey. So, oh, this is so sweet. Thank you, Kurt. She's great, Cindy. You'll enjoy her in the content. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, Cindy, because you're new here, I'm very much real. I tell you, like I said, I'm just gonna tell you straight up, like, oh, I got all this fancy equipment. I don't really know what I'm doing with it, but I will figure it out. I may be spending some time on YouTube over the next few days to figure it out, but we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. That is for sure. We'll be doing a new video on the new equipment. I will, once I get it all figured out, for sure, because I've had a lot of people asking me about video podcasts. And I'm actually learning a lot from the folks over at Buzzsprout. So if you are not following their YouTube channel, go subscribe to Buzzsprout. They're my podcast host, and I work really closely with them in creating content and doing some beta testing. But they have some really awesome videos about specs, equipment, and they have an awesome setup for their video podcast as well. Speaking of, so since we're talking about this, I'm going to share with you something I learned from watching one of their videos today. And that was, if you're thinking about doing a video podcast, then consider, and you have a YouTube channel, right? This is assuming you are thinking about starting a YouTube channel, or maybe you already have one that is like bite-sized clips or shorter pieces of content. From what I learned from them is whenever you have your YouTube the different videos that you're producing, you want to have similar forms of content or formats on one channel. So here's an example. If I had a YouTube channel that produced 5 to 7 minute videos, but then here I come with my hour-long podcast episodes, then YouTube's like, wait, hang on, this is totally different type of content. Let's start a new channel. And then they would serve up your live video podcast, if that's like, this is a live video, right? So they could serve up this type of content. Or if you recorded with an interview, a guest, and you were going to have 30, 45-minute episodes, then you would want to put that on another channel. It's got me thinking, I don't really know. I don't do these like a crazy amount. So I don't really know that I would need to start a separate channel just to talk to y'all every week, but it's something I'm learning. So again, going back to what Kurt was saying, that I'm constantly learning. Hi, Laura. So happy that you're here. Oh, wait, hang on. So Cindy, to answer your question, hang on. Will you be doing a new video? Yes, I will. Long story short, I will be doing a new video on my equipment whenever I get all this figured out, because I really want to figure out the color. I don't know. I don't understand the color of this. I want to do a new background. My husband, he was in here when we were setting up some of the new equipment the other day, and he was like, you know that this shelf right here, it looks crooked in a lot of your videos. And these two, are they really leveled and aligned? And I'm like, well, you're the one that hung them up for me. If there's an issue, it's the carpentry, right? It's not me doing it. But I'm not in love with this. So if I change this up, we'll see. We'll see. I will absolutely let y'all know. Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed all her YouTube or all her videos thus far. Well, we're happy that you're here. We're happy that you're here. Yeah. It is really interesting, Laura. I think that the more that you dive into content creation, you do have to have that aspect of, I'm here to learn. I'm here for the long haul. And I really just want to continue to find avenues of where I can be better. Here's a great example. I'm actually live on LinkedIn today for the first time. I've never done LinkedIn Live. And I'm kind of like, do I need to do anything special? It's kind of like when you go live on Facebook or YouTube for the first time, you're like, did I do it right? Are people, because nobody's commenting. I can't see like on my back end that anybody's commenting on LinkedIn. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, tell us in the comments that you're watching. This is the first time I'm doing this. I'm putting myself out there in the LinkedIn world, and I want to see that everything's working. But we are here today to talk a little bit about having an online business and what that can mean. I actually have just 4 quick things that we're going to talk about. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat. If you have any podcast questions, put those in the chat too. We'll have time for some Q&A at the end. But I created this little mini training. I like these. I did this recently on a YouTube video. I just use Canva. Y'all, I don't do anything super fancy. Canva is my favorite, like quick, hey, let's create something. And I thought, man, I really like the visual aid when other people do that. So I'm going to try to do this more in my YouTube videos and our little, let's call these mini trainings, because I think that they're a lot of fun. And I think that they help everybody kind of just follow along easier with what you're talking about. So if you find that helpful, maybe you could pass that along to someone else or use that for yourself. But I just want to tell you a little bit about my story. I'm not going to dive into my whole story because I actually have a few YouTube videos that I did. I think it was last week or the week before that was about my journey from 2014 to today. So it's really crazy to think 7 years ago that I was just kind of starting to dabble in everything that I'm doing today. And the reason why I want to tell you this is because oftentimes, whenever we see someone who's a content creator or they have an online business, they're running an online business, it's really easy to assume that they woke up, started, like said, hey, I'm going to start an online business today. They started it and it took off. That has not been the case for me. Not at all. So if you want to go watch my video about it's my journey, my podcast business journey or my online business journey, but on the thumbnail card you'll see it says 2014 through today. And I've done blogging, I've done consulting, a little bit of one-on-one work. I've created a digital course. I didn't really talk about it in the video, but I've had a membership that I have since, I don't want to say we shut it down. It's on hiatus right now, but it's something that I have learned every step of the way what I want to do. And it's just been trial and error, much like this camera. Whenever we're done here, I'm going to say, nope, that wasn't the right setting. I'm going to go back and change it. I'm going to look up and see, like, are there a few other things that, like, is there some settings that I missed somewhere? And so I just want to let you know, no matter where you are in your journey, if you're just getting started, have patience. And that's like the worst thing. I don't even like those words coming out of my mouth because it's the thing that I hate to hear. Oh, I hate it. I have 3 kids. If you didn't know this, I have 3 kids, 3 boys. They're supposed to be in there being quiet. I still hear them screaming. It's summertime. I think we counted down. There's 21 days until they go back to school. So, we're going to make it. But I mean, I just think back to whenever I first got started in doing all of this, I really just was dabbling in a lot of different places and trying to figure out what felt right to me. So that's really what I want to highlight. If you're just getting started and there's something that feels, I talk about this a lot, there's friction in the process, there's a reason. There's a reason why I had a lot of friction in the process whenever I was blogging. Y'all, I don't like to write. Like, that's not my natural, like, let's sit down and write a blog post, like with the blinking cursor, like coming at me. That is not my natural, I guess, abilities and skills don't shine whenever it comes to writing. I can do it. Don't get me wrong. I can do it. I can whip out some show notes for my podcast. I can write episode descriptions. I can write social media captions. But like I said, I started 7 years ago and not just yesterday. And the questions that I see from people that have been doing this a while to the people that are just getting started are night and day. And I remember it was like recently I had a question that someone asked me and I was like, I remember having this exact same conversation either with my husband or a good friend of mine, or maybe just one that I had internally and thinking, ooh, that was a tough decision. So if you're in the middle of making some tough decisions, you're just getting started, you're not alone. It's where I started too. But the next thing I want to talk about is what changed. Why is it not going? There we go. What changed? So in my journey of having my online business, what really changed for me was I realized that friction that I was feeling was not just about blogging, because once I kind of transformed from blogging into podcasting, I realized I was talking to the wrong audience. And I realized that because I had a podcast. If you don't know this, I had a previous podcast that I rebranded to the Profit Podcast, what I have today. Oh, I love when I can do this. Boop, bloop. You see it right up there, right up at the top? That's my podcast. If you haven't checked it out, you should go listen to it. But I rebranded my show that was called The Rookie Life. And in that podcast, you could still, if you go back and listen to the Profit Podcast, the very beginning is still the episodes of The Rookie Life. You like, y'all, if you want to see the podcast evolution of what it is today versus when I started, go back to the very beginning because I didn't take any of those down. They are still there and they're not great. I'm just going to be very honest with you. They are not great. It was whenever I was still figuring things out, but I leave those there because it just shows you my story and it explains this is what happened over time. But what changed is the audience. It was the audience and it was the intention because the excitement for the audience that I was speaking to, these were female entrepreneurs that I was trying to share their stories. What changed is I went from trying to speak to this audience and motivate them and then on like frontward facing, but on the back end, I was helping all these people that were messaging me. They were emailing me, they were sending me DMs and they were like, how does this podcast stuff work? And I was in the Buzzsprout Facebook group. This is really crazy. So if I think back to 2018, it's when I first started podcasting, I was in the Buzzsprout group and there was only like 1,000 people in there. Maybe there might have been 1,000 people in there. Now I think there's like 26,000 people in there. So if everything's grown exponentially for them since I first joined, but I got so excited to go like in that podcast group and like just answer questions and talk to people and learn things. So what changed for me is I realized the friction in showing up for my podcast and doing the interviews was I wasn't excited to talk to these people as I was to talk about podcasting. So that's what really changed for me in my online journey. So if you have a business right now and you're just like, it's not growing, I'm just not into it, I just can't get this thing off the ground, then I would really encourage you to look at the message that you're sharing and who you're sharing it to. Because maybe the message is awesome. You just need to do a little change up on who you're speaking to. So that's what changed for me. Yeah. I made connections and online community is super, super valuable. I think that when you're especially just getting started and you're not really sure where to go to ask questions, having an online community of whatever that looks like for you is super, super important. Yes, absolutely. And so what would I do differently today? If I had all the knowledge, right, everything that I know now, and I was starting from scratch, let's pretend that tomorrow I decided I'm just going to go in a totally different direction in a brand new venture. What I would do is really work on those connections, like Laura was saying. I would work on those connections, but I would also get so clear about exactly who I'm talking to and the message that I'm trying to share, almost where it's too specific. Like I would rather see someone be way too specific and niche up than be so broad and have to niche down. Because if you get so specific in your topic or, your specific audience, there's nowhere to go but up from there. But if you are too general and you're speaking to such a general audience, then people don't really know. It's kind of like, I'm trying to think, it's almost like your content will be a blur to them. Like think about when you drive past something really fast, right? You're like, oh, I didn't even see what that sign said. Thinking like a billboard. Like I didn't even see what that said because we were going too fast. We're on the highway, right? Everybody's on this information super highway. Y'all, I just thought of the cable guy. Is that something Jim Carrey says in The Cable Guy? He's on the information super highway. If you don't know this about me, I love movies and I will quote a movie. I will quote Friends. I will quote The Office, Schitt's Creek. Oh, y'all, that's my new favorite show. But as the information superhighway, I'm getting off track. Let's go back to what we were talking about. But if you're too general, if your audience is way too general, you're way too broad, your content will be a blur. Because if it's like, oh, I'm talking to all women. Okay, good for you. I'm talking to all moms. Okay, that's fantastic. But what if I said something like, I'm talking to all moms that have children between the ages of 2 and 6 that are transitioning from going to school in a private school or so, I don't know. I'm just making all this up off the top of my head. If you can't tell, my kids don't go to private school. They go to public school. They ride the school bus, all the things. But I'm just thinking, what would it mean if you were to see something like that when you're scrolling, as opposed to, hey, you're a woman, I'm talking to you. That's not very specific. So I would get as specific as possible when it comes to your message and to your audience, because it's going to help people say, ooh, that's interesting. Oh, that's for me. Oh, she's talking about underwater basket weaving. That's not something a lot of people talk about. I'm going to go see what that's about. I don't know why underwater basket weaving always comes to mind, but it does. It's always that like really like just out of the blue niche that I'm like, do people really do that? I don't know. I don't if you're an underwater basket weaver, I would love to have you on my podcast so we could talk about it, because I'm pretty sure I've talked about your topic many times and I don't even understand what it means. I really don't. I don't understand what it means. But okay, hang on. We're going backwards. So, my advice to you, and if you have any questions about podcasting, put them in the comments. We're going to have some Q&A at the end, or about running an online business. But my advice to you, if you're just getting started today, if you're trying to pivot, if you're trying to figure out what your next move should be, it's creating something that's bigger than yourself. That's really my advice. Like, I think about what I was doing with my original podcast. And yes, I was trying to elevate other people's voices, but I was also like, hey, I started this podcast and my podcast is amazing. Whereas now I love the fact that I can share success stories from people that have listened to the podcast and launched their show, or the fact that someone launched their show and helped change someone else's life. This is where I just like, I think about Lori. She comes to mind. She has a podcast that's all about grieving moms. And I think about her show anytime I think about something that's bigger than myself, because Lori, she's been a student of mine. She's been part of our community for a long time. And she helps grieving moms go through the grieving process after they've lost a child. And it's from her speaking from her own experience. She took this moment in her life and she's sharing what she's learned and, the ups and the downs and everything in between. And I just think, wow, that's so much bigger than anything I ever imagined. And it's because it's not about me. It's never been about me. It's been about empowering other people to share their messages and their stories and what's important to them. So at the end of the day, my advice to you is to make it not about you, but about serving your audience, whatever way that looks like for you. Right? Whatever way that looks like for you. It's going to look different for everybody. Maybe your ultimate goal is to be like, Crystal, that was really heavy. That was really deep. My podcast isn't about that. My podcast is just, the purpose of it is to make people laugh every week. Well, then do something that makes people laugh every week. I've had people say that, they started this comedy podcast and their listeners have told them, man, I was in a really dark spot and you are the only thing I look forward to every single week. Or every time I listen to your voice, like, you made me crack up and forget all of the other crappy things that are going on in my life. Like, I know these things are really big picture things, but it's the truth. Think about your own life and the own things that you experience. Like, I can't even, I can't even tell you. In 2020, I binge watched so much more TV last year than I have probably any other time in my life. And it was my way of processing and dealing with everything that was going on. And I have just think about like all the ways that I have also listened to podcasts, or I have, done other things, watched YouTube videos. I've learned things. I've read books. Like, your podcast will mean something to someone. And you have to have that in your mindset of, how am I going to make my podcast mean something to someone, and not just have this like self-serving, go listen to my show so I can get more downloads, so I can get sponsorships and I can make lots of money. You said the word "I" like so many times, and it's because it's self-serving. I want you to think about your podcast as something that's bigger than yourself, because it could just blow your mind. It really can. I'm just saying that from personal experience. You can blow your mind, the stories that you'll get back from your listeners and the things that you'll learn about yourself if you make it about something that's bigger. So that's my advice to you about getting started with an online business, what to do, and some of the things that have changed for me personally. But I want to share a little bit about, I don't know what just happened. My whole monitor just went off. There we go. We're back. We are back. Yeah. I've been gone for a bit, but I'm back and revamping my show. Awesome. Awesome. So Miranda has been in our community for a while. And I know that you have the Mediocre Mom brand. Are you rebranding your show or are you just changing up the format? Tell us in the comments. I'm curious to see. And I know, Cindy, if you're still here, I want to know if you currently have a podcast or if you are thinking about starting one. Laura, same for you. I know that you've said that you've kind of gone back and forth on whether you were going to start a podcast. Kurt, he is a profit podcasting student. He joined us a while back. And Kurt, I want to know how your show is going as well. So if anybody has any comments, let me know. I wanted to tell you before it closes. So this Thursday on July 29th, Marie Forleo has her B School. Oh my gosh, y'all. Talk about like what changed for me in 2019 joining Marie School. That's basically what it should be called. But Marie Forleo's B School is something that helps like pivot my whole direction. I was going this way and I was at this crossroads. And then instead of like going this or this, I went, let's go all in this way. And it made all the difference. So I would love for you to join us if you're interested in joining B School. I actually have, let me see. I want to share, where is it? Or let me see, because I have a bonus package that's like amazing. And I say that because I'm excited to get started. I have a few members that have already joined us and it's pretty awesome. And I want to show you. Okay. So I know y'all want to know about tools. Let me show you this tool because I think it's cool. I can't say it. That's too many words. Okay. I'm going to share my whole screen because, so look, if we make this big, so, oh my gosh, y'all, this is so cool. Do you see this little thing down here at the bottom? I was pointing to it on the wrong thing. This is really fun, y'all. I've never done this before. I have seen other people that have done it. So this is on my landing page for our MF plus KP bonus bundle. And I'm going to tell you about it in a second if you haven't seen. But y'all, this is so stinking cool. Okay, you ready? Are you ready? Because it's going to happen. Oh, excited. Okay, so you click on it and this little, can you hear that? I don't know if you can hear that.
B-School bonus package page. I'm really excited because if you're here, it means that you've heard about these.
Okay, I don't know if y'all can hear that, but this is so cool. I've never done one of these before. It's called Video Ask. So basically what it is, it's kind of like, you know how when you go on a web page and it'll say, "Oh, you need help," with a question mark, and it'll be like a text box and you're chatting probably with a bot, right? Like, let's just be really honest, it's a bot. And what's cool is this is kind of the same idea, except for I can put a video up here and you can see me. And it's like, hey, if you have any questions about it, you could record a video back to me. You could record an audio clip. If you're like, hey, Crystal, I just wanted to know about the coaching package. Like, when are y'all going to meet? You could send me an audio clip and it notifies me through email. And then we can start a conversation back and forth. It's super cool. Like, these are the things that I nerd out on. So if you join B School with me, don't worry, we will 100% nerd out on all the things tech-wise and how I set up this whole launch and all the things that I'm doing. But if you go to crystalprofit.com/B School, that's where you can see this. And I would love for y'all to send me a video because I think it would be really cool. Or just a text and be like, hey, Crystal, I saw your video and I think it's cool. And it has captions. So it'll have captions down here.
Bonus package.
What? Make it full screen.
If you have checked out everything that you see here at crystalprofit.com/B School.
It's like me. It's like me on myself. Y'all look at this. Oh my gosh. Y'all are going to laugh at me. Y'all are totally going to laugh at me. I'm going to take this way. I like tank tops. I started thinking yesterday, I was getting ready and I was like, I mean, it's summertime in Texas and it's hot. I can just wear tank tops all the time, right? Right? Y'all don't care. I'm like, I'm not going to get dressed today. I'm just going to wear a tank top and shorts because it makes my life easier. And then I see that's what I have on in this video. Okay. Sorry. I'm getting totally sidetracked here. So, YouTube channel will grow doing Lita this August. I don't know what Lita is, so you'll have to tell me what that is, Laura. Not rebranding, but added a co-host. That's awesome. I know that you were talking about doing it and you're like, I just, you were wavering between like, should I go solo or should I do it? So that's awesome. I'm excited to hear more. Yeah. I highly recommend B School. And the reason why I really enjoyed B School was because, first of all, making that kind of investment, because it's expensive. I'm not going to sit here and say, join B School, it's $20. No, it's not. It's not. It's a pretty penny. But whenever I invested the money to join B School, I literally showed up like I was taking a college course. And I was like, okay, I got to get an A in this class because this is the type of student I am anyway. I'm like, okay, I got to get an A in this class. I'm going to make it happen. And so when I did that, like something switched in my brain and I just started taking myself seriously. And I really wanted to have success with it. And I actually made back the investment from B School easily in the first 6 months. It was probably shorter than that, but easily in the first 6 months. So Miranda, if you want to join, I recommend go checking it out. And there's also, she has a lot of success stories. These are like all the testimonials from people that have gone through it. If you're on my email list, which I'm pretty sure you are, then I did a recent email about Florette. Y'all, this is so crazy. Hang on. We're gonna come back. We'll go back to the bonus package in a second. So this was insane. Florette, who is a previous B School graduate, now has a show on the Magnolia Network. Chip and Joanna Gaines. Like, not hello, like that's not an easy feat. And she did a YouTube video with Marie on her YouTube. So go to Marie TV. I think it's marietv.com, but it's Marie's YouTube channel. And she talks about how she got invited to be part of the Magnolia Network and have her show on there. My husband and I, we finished watching it. It's a 4-part like docu-series on the Magnolia Network. And it's so awesome. And she's a B School graduate. So it's like, oh, like it's kind of like I'm cheering for like someone I went to college with. Do you ever do that? Like if someone from your hometown that you went to high school with or someone you're like, hey, I went to school there too. That's kind of what I feel like. I know I'm super dorky, but whatever. You get it. You get the picture. Okay, let me go back. I'm brand new in the beginning stages of creating my new podcast. Awesome, Cindy. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm glad you found us. I'm starting to interviews on my podcast. Any tips? Ooh, this is good. Let's come back to this real fast. I'm starting the interviews for my podcast. Any tips? So my tips for anyone that's starting with doing interviews is to have guidelines. Now, what I mean by that, I actually have I have a podcast episode and I also have a YouTube video on this, but it's all about podcast show guidelines. So if you go to my website, type in podcast show guidelines, you'll see information about it. But what I recommend is setting the expectation of what it's going to be like when someone is on a call with you. So you tell them, hey, we're going to do this on Zoom and, log in 5 minutes before and then I'll let you in the room, or you're going to do it on Squadcast. And if you want to send them a video, like here's how you use Squadcast if you've never used it before. And then telling them it would be helpful if you don't have a podcast microphone, which most people that I interview don't. I just say, hey, if you could wear headphones and the headphones with the microphone built in actually work best. So do that. I let them know it's going to be between 20 and 30 minutes for an interview. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, and I tell them about my audience. I say, this is our audience, this is who we're speaking to, and this is our overall goal with our podcast. So they can know who they're talking to, who the audience is by the time they get there. So great question. I hope that helps. Yeah, I'm brand new to creating a new podcast. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm happy that you're here, Cindy. Let me know if you have any specific questions about getting your podcast off the ground. Yes, it's going to be way better. I want to hear all about it whenever you and your co-host get things going. I think it's fun when people go from doing a show alone to having a co-host. I've actually thought about a few ideas for other podcasts. Y'all, if you've been around here a while, then you know I don't have a shortage of ideas. I have all of the ideas when it comes to podcast and videos and content creation. But I think it's really cool when you change things up and you either find out that you absolutely love it, or you find out, oh, okay, we're on the right track. Maybe we still need to pivot a little bit more. Maybe we need to change the format. It was too short. Now it needs to be longer, or we need to have our intro at the beginning, or we need to get rid of it. But I love exploring all of that stuff. This is really fun. Okay, good. Good. Yeah. Let me know if you have any other questions. That's what I do. So my show guidelines for formatting purposes, I have at the very top here. Actually, let me just open them. I can just open them for you, but I'm trying to think of where it is because I know that you can download this. It is my guidelines. I'm going to show these to you because I have my podcast show guidelines, and it's actually a free resource that you can go download. And I'm trying to think of where you can download it. I know it's on the podcast episode. Here, let me take this off. So these are my interview guidelines. Like I said, I'm going to make it bigger. So it has a picture of the podcast artwork. And then it's like, hey, this is my show. This is what we do on the podcast. These are the interview guidelines. Here's where it would be. So you would put, your link here. And then set aside an hour. I usually tell people an hour. It doesn't always go that long. We normally shoot from the hip around here. I'm very upfront and honest that I tell people we don't do anything super complicated. We don't. It's just if your kids are screaming in the background or your dog starts barking, it's okay. It's pretty pressure free around here, but I'm informal. I'm not super formal when it comes to my show. On the day of the interview, just relax. I'm trying to help people feel as comfortable as possible. And then I just go into, hey, this is you can find more about the podcast if you haven't listened to it yet, which most people, when they come to me at the point of having an interview, they have actually heard the podcast. Let me see. I'm going to look this up. Hang on. Stand by. We are going to find this podcast episode because I think it would be helpful. Except I'm gonna start singing, and I don't need to start singing. I know when that starts happening, y'all are like, "Oh, Crystal, please don't do that while you're looking for stuff." It's what I do when I don't have the camera on and I'm looking for something. I will start singing, and it's scary. Okay, episode 174. Episode 174. Stand by. Okay. Let me go back here. So if you are, let me go back right here. So only one mic. Whenever you decide you're ready you want to start doing guidelines or, podcast show expectations, whatever you want to call them, go here. Oh no, that's show notes. That's the wrong one. That's show notes, guidelines to live by. I searched guidelines. That was not the right thing. Hang on. Stand by again. Y'all, I'm going to find this. I'm going to find this because I want to know what it is. Maybe it's just a YouTube video. I don't know. Go search. I think it is on my YouTube though. Hang on. Oh, this is going to drive me crazy, y'all. See, I got to get better. I got to get better on having all this content in one place to where I can find it really easy. Release forms, content calendar. No, that's not. I don't want any of that stuff. I think it's this one. Podcast segments. No, this is what I'm looking at. I'm on my YouTube channel, but I think it's this one. Oh, it's gonna be loud. I think it's down here. Pitch a guest. Yep, that's the one I was looking for. Oh, this is ridiculous. Okay, episode 118. of the Profit Podcast. This is what you're looking for, because when you come down here, you can get a free copy of my podcast show guidelines. Woo! I need to make that easier to find. I'm like sweating over here trying to figure out where it was. That is what you need to go. So episode 118, crystalprofit.com/episode 118. That's where you can find it. Oh my gosh, y'all. Seriously, I was about to start sweating. I'm like, where is it? I know it's here somewhere. Okay, so that's all I have for y'all today. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below. Make sure you go to crystalprofit.com/B school to learn more about everything that's going on. I'm excited to have the coaching package that we're offering. There's 2 workshops that are going to be live events later this year. We're going to have a virtual event, which is really fun. I've never done that one before. Speaking of learning new things, like Kurt was talking about, I'm at a virtual event. I've never done this. I'm going to be teaching podcast organization one-on-one. That way you can plan your podcast strategically every quarter. It's not about, hey, let's plan it for this next week and then to go record it and put it out there. I want you to have a system in place that helps you plan your content on a quarterly basis, and then you can replicate the system every single quarter of the year. I'm telling you, this is what changed everything in content creation for me, was having this type of system. So I'm teaching that later in December of 2021, but you will get a free ticket to this event when you enroll in B School with me. So let me close that video ask thing still up. Oh, let me shut that down. Oh, see, look, it's going again. But the audio doesn't play until you actually click on it. But you can go here. You can learn more about B School. There's an affiliate disclaimer. I'm an affiliate with B School. Learn more about Marie and the program, the bonus package, 6 weeks of accountability, the live workshop. Here's the other live workshop, podcast organization. We just talked about that. You get access to my digital course, which is really fun. I know people are always asking, like, how do I get in your course? How can I learn from you? This is one of the best ways to do it. And then I'm going to share behind the scenes of my B School story. That's going to be really fun. I'm going to show you like where I actually was in my numbers and revenue. And it was pretty crazy compared to what it is now. But yeah, look, 2 days and 3 hours until B School closes. So if you're interested, go check it out. Go check it out. Yeah, I love that idea. I don't know which one you're talking about in particular, Cindy, but go check it out. crystalprofit.com/B school. Y'all, if you want to know more about how I do like work with these tools, whether it's StreamYard, which is what I'm using to stream this to 4 different places right now. If you want to know more about building websites and having really cool tools for whenever you're doing your sales promotions, then I hope you join us in B School, because I'm going to be sharing all the behind the scenes of how I do this in my own business. But that's all I have for y'all today. So I hope that you have a fantastic Taco Tuesday. And as always, remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Bye, y'all.